Happy Tuesday morning. It's time for Morning Manna. Time for Morning Manna. We're going to give Facebook Live a couple of seconds to get our audience together. We're going to jump right into the word this morning. Got a word for you as usual on this morning. It's time for Morning Manna. Hey, it's time for the text, the talk, and the takeaway. I'm going to give Facebook Live just a few seconds to get our audience together. Then we're going to get right into the word on this morning. How you doing this morning? All is well with you this morning. This is Tuesday. It's the second day of the work week. And you know what? You're almost at hump day. It is hump day eve. How about that? So let's get into the word on this morning. I got a text, a talk, and the takeaway. As our audience is gathering, let me kind of tell you what I want to do going forward. Going forward, on Tuesdays, I'm going to give you a leadership lesson. On Tuesdays, I'm going to give you a leadership lesson that I believe deeply that every believer is a leader. Get that in your spirit. Every believer is a leader. A leader is someone who exerts their influence to cause a person to inspire them to achieve a common goal or vision that is beyond their natural ability. That's my definition of leadership. It is the ability to inspire others to achieve a common goal or vision above their natural abilities. And as a result of that, when we look in the scriptures tell us that the disciples really were in small group leadership training in the 3 years that Jesus has them. Now, anytime you are supposed to teach and make disciples, you are talking about exerting your leadership and your inspiration on somebody else to cause them to follow. So every believer is a leader. Now, based on that, every Tuesday, I'm going to give you a lesson in leadership through the scriptures, looking through the lens of scripture about that. Let's go back and look at what we talked about on yesterday, on Monday, John 6 and 2. John 6 and 2. Give you a minute to check that out. And then I'm going to jump right into it. It's the text, the talk, and the takeaway. And it is about leadership today. Leadership today. The miracle of leadership. The miracle of leadership. Remember what we said the text was on yesterday. And that is John 6 and 2. And it says, a great crowd followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he did for the sick. A great crowd followed him being Jesus, followed him around the Sea of Galilee or the Sea of Tiberias, however you want to look at it. He goes on the other side, and then he says that they followed him, which implies leadership without a doubt, because they saw what he had done for the people. Again, serving the people. Now, every believer is a leader. Could it be that this 2 fish and 5 loaves is more than just a miracle? You might say, now, Bishop, what more do you want? It is a lesson in leadership. Jesus uses this as a lesson in leadership. So, every believer is a leader. You are a leader. No matter the situation you may find yourself in, you are the leader. You are to lead in any room that you find yourself in. So let's look at 3 things about this text that empowers you to be the leader that God has called you to be. Look at it through the lens of that moment. The first thing is this. Leaders look for resources. In verse 5, it says, where shall we find enough food for all of this? Jesus said, look around. You know, we need something to feed all of these people. Leaders look for resources, whether they are limited or however limited they may be. The leader in you should be trying to find the resources in that situation, whether it's human capital, whether it's financial capital, whether it's time capital. That's what Jesus says to him. He says to Philip, Philip, look at what's going on. I need you to determine the resources that are required to feed these people. What is Philip's response? Philip says it's going to take about 8 months' wages won't be enough for all of this. Give Philip credit for responding to the leadership moment that Jesus put on him by looking for the resources. You are in the middle of something right now. Whatever it is, the leader in you should be looking for the resources that are around you. Let's continue to look at this text through the lens of leadership and Jesus now teaching this small group on leadership. The second thing is this: leaders organize chaotic moments. Leaders organize chaotic moments, situations, circumstances. As a believer, you need to be able to go into a chaotic moment and organize it. You need to be able to go into a chaotic moment and organize it. Look in verse 2, and it says this: they followed him all around the lake. All around the lake, they followed him. And in one instance, Jesus says, these people are without a shepherd. They are being harassed by the situation. Here are the people. They're in a chaotic situation. They're hungry. They need something to eat. The situation is totally about to get out of hand. So what does Jesus say to them in this leadership moment? He says to them, organize them. Make them sit down in certain groups so that we will not be overrun by the moment. The leader in you should always be looking at, how do I organize the chaotic moment that I find myself in? Have a seat sometimes. You're running out of money. There's more than money. Have a seat sometimes. Organize your bills. Organize your thoughts. Organize your situation. And see, don't you be able to find your way out. First thing is, you have to look for the resources as a leader. That's what Jesus tells them. Second thing is, organize the chaotic moment that you find yourself in. Here's the third leadership moment in the text of John 6:2. Assess the organization's time to meet this situation. Assess all that is needed to meet the situation that we find ourselves in. Okay, here we got 2 fish and we got 5 loaves of bread. Now, there's not enough to meet this situation. You got to then determine, if there's not enough to meet the situation, you then have to determine, what is the organization going to do to meet the moment? What is the organization going to do? What are your family? Remember, you are a leader. You lead yourself first. You lead your home second. You lead your church. You lead your career / your business. Let's go over that again. I'm always going to talk about this on Tuesday. You lead yourself first. You lead your family second. In the case if you're single, then that's twice. All right. Then you lead your career. You lead your church. And that's how you lead in a situation. When you look at it, I assess, what are the limited resources that we have right now? And how do I go about getting more? How do I go about getting more? If I'm going to make myself, my home, my business / my career, my church successful, I got to assess the resources on hand. What's your takeaway this morning? Your takeaway is this: the moment that you find yourself in is a miracle moment when you step up to be the leader God has called you to be. The moment you find yourself in, you're looking for a miracle, you need a miracle, trust me, in that moment, God is crying out to you, calling out to you, be the leader I've called you to be, and watch that moment turn around in a miraculous way. Hey, remember, Tuesdays is always about leadership. The Lord be with you. May his face shine upon you, give you peace. Share the manna. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Hump Day. Bye now.